Saraki Dogara give reasons why National Assembly has not reconvened. NNPC to relocate refinery to Nigeria. In international news, at least 35 dead in Italian bridge collapse. And in sports, Ghana-Nigeria Football Associations may face FIFA wrath.
This is ANN News.
I am Rotimi Akintunde. The Senate President, Bukola Saraki, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, gave reasons on Tuesday why the National Assembly could not reconvene. They said the Joint Senate and the House of Representatives committees on electoral matters and officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission would have to meet before resumption. The National Assembly leadership noted that the joint committees were also expected to meet with the Joint Senate and House committees on appropriations, loans and debts on the Eurobond loan request, after which the two reports would have been ready for presentation in the two chambers. They said none of the meetings had been held, saying that if lawmakers had reconvened, there would have been no report for them to consider. Meanwhile, there are reports that if the National Assembly had reconvened, some senators had planned to remove Saraki as Senate President. There were indications on Tuesday that the Department of State Services might soon carry out a massive shake-up of its personnel across the country. Sources say the action could affect some state directors and those said to be monitoring what the security personnel call strategic positions. Investigations show that the transfers may come as soon as President Muhammadu Buhari returns from London. Reports are also circulating that the President will determine the fate of Acting Director General of the agency, Matthew Seyefa, who was named to the post after Acting President Yemi Osinbajo sacked former Director General Lawal Dora on Tuesday. It was gathered that some state directors were believed to have been compromised by some state governors and that the federal government would not allow such directors to stay on as the nation prepares for elections next year. Still talking about security agencies, Acting President Yemi Osinbajo has directed Inspector General of Police Ibrahim Idris to immediately begin the overhaul of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS. Osinbajo has also directed the National Human Rights Commission to set up a panel to probe allegations of rights abuses by the police unit. Acting President's media aide Laolu Akonde said Osinbajo directed the police boss to ensure that any unit that would emerge from the overhaul was intelligence-driven and restricted to the prevention and detection of crimes. The IG explained in a statement that under the new arrangement, new Commissioner of Police had been appointed as the overall head of SARS nationwide. As the 2019 polls draw closer, 91 political parties are expected to participate in the elections as the Independent National Electoral Commission approved on Tuesday the registration of 23 new political parties. The Commission noted that it received 144 applications from political associations seeking registration, but only 23 parties met the requirement. The electoral body has also extended voter registration till the end of August so that more people can have the opportunity to vote next year. INEC said after the registration of fresh voters, it would continue to distribute PVCs until February. The story about National Assembly complex that was blocked last week has led a journalist into trouble. The International Press Center and the newspaper Premium Times are kicking against police detention of the paper's reporter, Samuel Ogundipe. They are calling for his release. Premium Times publisher Dapo Oloriyomi said on the day the presidency ordered the Inspector General of Police Ibrahim Idris to overhaul the Special Anti-Robbery Squad over its excesses, the unit arrested Ogundipe and was compelling him to disclose his source. Apart from Ogundipe, Premium Times editor-in-chief Musikilu Mojid and education correspondent Azizat Adidigba were also briefly detained and manhandled by the police at the SARS headquarters in Abuja over police investigation into the DSS invasion of the National Assembly. Oloriyomi said Ogundipe was repeatedly asked to disclose his source for a story published by Premium Times, adding that the story for which he was being detained was published by other media. The Nigerian Union of Journalists has also condemned the arrest and detention of the journalist. In economic news, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation announced on Tuesday plans to establish 100,000 barrels per day brownfield refinery each in Port Harcourt, Rivers State and in Warri, Delta State. It said the plan was part of its efforts to boost local refining capacity to end the era of importing petroleum products. He also said a group of investors had commenced the process of relocating a refinery from Turkey to Nigeria. That refinery was once owned by BP. NNPC Group Managing Director Meikanti Baru said it's an effort to achieve self-sufficiency in local refining besides the rehabilitation of Nigerian refineries. Special Advisor to the President on Sustainable Development Goals, Adejoke Orelope Adefulure, has said the federal government has a target of generating $88 billion and creating 3 million jobs through the nation's digital economy in 10 years. She also said the federal government has also embarked on activities to inaugurate its first digital classroom in Abuja and is working hard to actualize a knowledge-based economy. She stated that information and communication technology has brought new opportunities for business and individuals. The Senior Staff Association of Universities, Teaching Hospitals, Research Institutes and Allied Institutions has proposed a new monthly minimum wage of 100,000 naira for Nigerians. The association also called on the federal government to address the grievances in other sectors of the union, including its condition of service, 65 years retirement plan, and 12-month salary arrears, which have resulted in industrial crisis. The association says the new minimum wage would give relief Nigerian workers. The government had promised implementation of the new minimum wage with effect from next month. If this eventually happens, it would be the biggest boost to the average Nigerian worker. Electricity workers nationwide have threatened to shut down power unless the federal government sacks the managing director of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, Usman Mohammed. The workers are accusing Mohammed of high-handedness and anti-labor practices. The union says it would ground the entire power structure if nothing is done to that effect. The further said Mohammed disregards administrative procedures. They also accuse him of single-handedly conducting exams for his favorite staff who were due for promotion without input from other management staff. He is also said to have failed to remit appropriate taxes to the Federal Inland Revenue Services. The United States Embassy in Nigeria has suspended consular services in Abuja. Appointment for visas and for American citizen services have been put on hold. No reasons were given for the decision. The embassy has directed American citizens in the northern states with emergency services to contact the embassy's after-hours emergency numbers. Consular operations in Lagos are not affected and will continue. Scheduled visa and AC's applicants will be contacted by the embassy for rescheduling. Finally, in this segment, at least 10 houses have been submerged while many people have been rendered homeless as a result of erosion in 3 Ngodo villages in Abia State. The communities have called on both the state and federal government to come to their aid as the villages were on the verge of collapse. The traditional rulers said the gullies have brought untold hardship to the communities. Coming up, African stories, and later, 35 persons are dead when their cars fell from a collapsed bridge in Genoa, Italy. Stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby.
We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward.
Wait, stop.
You okay, lean to your right. Keep walking down. Keep walking to the left. Yes.
You're almost here.
Keep going.
You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
I am Lucy Adeyemi.
I am Rotimi Akintunde.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. We bring you the news
On ANN News.
business. Politics.
Global News.
Watch ANN News.
In a truly African spirit. Welcome back. This is CNN News. Now to African stories. World Health Organization chief has warned on Tuesday region conflict is hampering efforts to rein in an Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo. He urges a ceasefire to stop the virus from transmitting free. Death toll hit 41 in the outbreak that was declared 15 days ago in North Kivu province of the country. DR Congo's health ministry says the virus has spread into Ituri province, although a vaccination campaign in the neighboring province continues. WHO chief called for the rapid rollout of an unlicensed drug being used for the first time to treat Ebola patients. Tedros Adhanom told reporters in Geneva he feared conditions on the ground in the eastern province had created a conducive environment for the transmission of Ebola. He said he had been very worried before his trip to the centers of the outbreak. He became more worried after the visit. The latest outbreak now counts 57 probable and confirmed cases of the deadly virus. Burundi's President Pierre Nkurunziza has issued a decree banning the use of plastic bags in the small Central African country within the next 18 months. Nkurunziza signed a presidential order on Monday prohibiting the manufacture, import, storage, sale and use of all plastic bags and other plastic packaging in the country. He gave 18 months grace period to allow for the disposal of current stocks and orders already placed. When the law comes into force, Burundi will join a growing list of African countries that have introduced total plastic bag bans to fight pollution, including Morocco, Rwanda and Kenya. 6 major opposition parties registered candidates in Democratic Republic of Congo are discussing putting forward a joint candidate for December's long-delayed presidential election. Opposition leaders say in a statement that such a decision would come in September after the Constitutional Court publishes a list of approved candidates. The opposition is up against President Joseph Kabila's chosen candidate, former Interior Minister Emmanuel Ramazani Shadri. The joint statement also calls for the participation of Katumbi in the election. Katumbi said DRC's government blocked him from returning to the country to register as a candidate. Malian president spokesman said on Tuesday Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta has won re-election based on his campaign's vote count, dismissing opposition victory claim. Official results are not yet out. The two sides have been swapping counterclaims and accusations since Monday's second round runoff. The ballot pitted Keïta is seeking a second term to rule the West African gold and cotton producing country against opposition leader Soumala Cisse. Cisse said on Monday the vote was fraudulent and he was victor. He has not provided concrete evidence for his accusations. Keïta denied any wrongdoing. European Union observers said on Tuesday they saw irregularities in the vote, not fraud. An Ethiopian court has granted bail to 11 police officers accused of negligence that allowed a deadly grenade attack on a rally addressed by the Prime Minister 2 months ago. The officers were arrested alongside 5 civilians accused of carrying out the June 23rd attack at a large gathering where Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed was addressing a crowd in the capital Addis Ababa. 2 persons died and about 150 were injured in the stampede that followed the blast. 5 civilians were earlier this month charged with direct involvement in the attack, though officials have yet to suggest any motive. The bombing came as President Ahmed ramped up his unprecedented reform program that has seen rapprochement with old enemy Eritrea, domestic rebel groups, the release of political prisoners, and promises to free up democratic space and the economy. 2 people, including a lawmaker, were wounded on Tuesday when shots were fired during a row outside Libya's parliament. A witness said an argument escalated between members of the Presidential Guard. Lawmaker Saleh Hashim was slightly injured. A guard was also shot and wounded. The witness did not detail the cause of the row outside parliament located in the eastern city of Tobruk. The UN Refugee Agency says it's concerned over Libyan militia forcing about 2,000 displaced people out of their refugee camp in the capital Tripoli. Spokesperson William Spindler says the militia ran about 370 families out of their homes in the camp last week. He says the militia also arrested 112 are being held in dismal conditions. He said on Tuesday the displaced in other Tripoli camps are also at risk of forced evictions. Libya plunged into chaos after the 2011 uprising and is now split between rival governments, each relying on several militias. Coming up after this break, many lives lost when a bridge collapsed in Genoa, Italy. And later, FIFA wants Nigeria and Ghana football federations. Stay with us.
I am Lucy Adeyemi.
I am Rotimi Akintunde.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. We bring you the news
On ANN News.
business. Politics.
Global News.
Watch ANN News.
In a truly African spirit. Welcome back. This is ANN News. In international news, a section of a highway bridge collapsed in Italy on Tuesday, plunging vehicles more than 300 feet to the ground and killing more than 35 persons. Authorities say the Morandi Bridge in Genoa collapsed around midday during strong storms that moved through the area. A firefighter said 30 vehicles were on the bridge in a port section of the city when the span gave way. Many persons have been pulled from the rubble and taken to hospitals by helicopter. Construction involving a crane was going on the bridge at the time of the collapse, but authorities say it was too early to pinpoint the cause of the collapse. Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte toured the disaster site and described the collapse as an immense tragedy. So sad. British authorities have identified a man detained on suspicion of carrying out a terrorist attack outside Britain's parliament as Sally Catero. Police believe he deliberately drove his car into pedestrians and cyclists, injuring 3 before ramming a security barrier outside Parliament on Tuesday morning. The 29-year-old man was arrested by armed officers at the scene moments later. He is currently being questioned on suspicion of preparing act of terrorism and attempted murder. Police say he is not cooperating with detectives. Attorney General of the U.S. state of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, has disclosed in a report that covers almost 1,000 pages that Roman Catholic priests in Pennsylvania sexually abused thousands of children over a 70-year period. They are also said to have silenced victims through a systematic cover-up campaign by the bishops. In the report on the 2-year investigation, graphic examples of children being groomed and sexually abused by clergymen were featured. The Attorney General said it was the most comprehensive report on Catholic clergy sex abuse in American history. He said the pattern of the Catholic priest was abuse little boys and girls, deny and cover up. The report cited more than 300 priests, some of whom have died. Only 2 are still subject to prosecution because the statute of limitations has run out. African migrants in Israel have reportedly faced detention, threats of deportation and hostility from lawmakers and residents. A new law has now driven them further into poverty as it cuts their wages by 20%. It requires them to hand over 1/5 of their salary to the state. Israel's 35,000 African migrants and the groups that support them say the recent law in which Israel withholds the money from their paychecks every month and returns it only if they leave the country is another effort to force them out. Think very well before you answer this question. Where in the world would you rather live? Before you answer, let me help you out. Vienna, Austria has been declared the world's most pleasant city in which to live at the moment. For the first time, Melbourne, Australia has been dislodged by Vienna from the top of the Economist Intelligence Unit's Global Index. The ranking is based on 30 factors, including access to healthcare, education, infrastructure, culture, environment, political and social stability. Oh well, maybe if we rate our own city, we may be a little close. What do you think?
You're watching ANN.
If you know fit go internet or follow for Twitter, you know fit snap photo send or get it photo send. Now because you dey use Palasa, your phone no dey answer. See me see wahala. My brother, go get smartphone, yeah. Drop that Palasa phone. Phone wey no go for your hand, yeah. Drop that Palasa phone. Phone wey no fit take selfie. Drop that Palasa phone. No be correct phone, yeah. Drop that Palasa phone.
Upgrade to a smartphone today and get double data for 6 months on any MTN data bundle you buy. Simply purchase a smartphone from any store, anywhere in Nigeria, or bring your current smartphone from any network. Insert your MTN SIM card to start enjoying your double data bonus. Offer is open to all new and existing MTN subscribers. Join the largest smartphone movement today.
Make it not for your hand,
While the world sleeps, ANN News stays awake. News takes no time off. We are awake so you can sleep. We report the stories that keep you up to date, events that affect your day, your week, month, and experiences. We scour the world, bringing it to your living room. Watch ANN News in a truly African spirit. Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sport, World Football Governing Body, FIFA, has threatened to suspend Nigeria and Ghana Football Federations over government interference in their associations. FIFA warned through a statement that Nigeria will face its wrath unless the NFF offices are handed back to the legitimate executive committee under President Amaju Pinnick. Nigeria had collided with FIFA last month when the sports minister directed the NFF to comply with a court order to overturn Pinnick's election. Meanwhile, Ghana's problem stems from a corruption scandal involving suspended Ghana Football Association Federation boss, Kwesi Nyataki, and the dissolution of the GFA. FIFA statute dictates that member states should manage their affairs independently with no influence from third parties. Blessing Okagbare, Tobia Mushon, and other Nigerian athletes have been selected by the Confederation of African Athletics for the 2018 IAAF Continental Cup. More than 70 athletes from other countries were also selected for the competition scheduled to hold early next month in Ostrava, Czech Republic. The squad consisting of 20 athletes from South Africa, 16 from Nigeria, 9 from Kenya, 6 from Morocco, with 4 each from Egypt and Ethiopia, was elected at the 21st African Senior Championships in Asaba earlier this month. They should do Africa proud. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other stories, visit our website annafrica.net. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Rotimi Akintunde. Have a great evening.